Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are jumping headfirst into one of the great epics of Chinese mythology, the Investiture of the Gods.
Or Fenshin Yanyi.
Exactly. And we're not looking at the big heroes today. Instead, we're focusing on one character whose story is, well, it's a masterclass in switching sides. We're talking about...
The long-eared immortal.
That's the one. And our mission for this deep dive is to trace his path, because it's just incredible. He goes from being a trusted confidant to a top leader to defecting, not once, but twice.
And we're talking about the three major cosmic factions of the time. This isn't a small move.
Not at all. We're talking about the interception teaching, the Chan teaching, and the Western teaching. He spans all three.
Right. And to really get the shock value here, you have to understand what these factions were. Think of them as like cosmic superpowers. You had the Chan teaching.
The elites.
The elites, yeah. Then Ersha, the interception teaching, which was massive and more diverse. And finally, Ona, the Western teaching.
And the thing about the long-eared immortal, the thing that makes his story so wild, is that he starts out as a rabbit spirit.
A literal rabbit. And yet his actions have this absolutely outsized impact on the whole conflict. The betrayal is so stunning because of where he started and how high he climbed.
Okay, so let's start there. His original identity, he's a Oldia, a rabbit spirit. How does a rabbit, get a seat at the main table in a war between gods?
Well, that's kind of the whole point of his first faction, the interception teaching, or Jiejiao. Their philosophy was famously open.
Right, I've heard it described as all who have fate may enter.
That's it, exactly. So they attracted everyone, spirits, demons, transformed animals, you name it. The outliers of the spiritual world found a home there. It's a huge contrast to the Chan teaching.
Which was very exclusive. You had to have like a pure human or noble immortal background to get in.
Precisely. So Jiejiao became this enormous big tent faction, and their leader, the Grand Master of Heaven, or Kultu, had this massive, loyal army of disciples.
And our rabbit wasn't just some soldier in the back ranks.
Not even close. He was one of the Puchert, the 7 attendants.
So the inner circle.
The absolute inner circle. He was a trusted confidant. If the Grand Master of Heaven is the emperor of this faction, Long-Eared Immortal is basically his chief of staff. The trust was immense.
Wow. So his status had nothing to do with his rabbitness and everything to do with this deep personal trust from the leader.
And that's what makes the stakes so high. The Grand Master relied on that personal loyalty, so when that trust is broken, it's not just a strategic loss, it's a devastating personal blow.
Which brings us to the turning point, the big one. The war is going badly for Jiejiao.
Very badly. They're losing key figures. I mean, big names like Wu Yunxian and Ku Xian are gone. The tide has completely turned.
The alliance between the Chan and Western teachings is just hammering them.
Yeah, so the Grand Master knows it's the end game. He gathers all his remaining forces for one last desperate stand. The battle of the 10,000 Immortals Formation. Right. But he has one last ace up his sleeve. A secret weapon that could, in theory, win him the entire war in an instant.
And guess who he entrusts with this war-ending artifact?
Of course. The long-eared immortal.
This is the moment a rabbit spirit becomes the most important person in the cosmos.
Yeah.
Tell us about this weapon, the Six Souls banner.
The Chusello, yeah.
Yeah.
This thing wasn't a bomb, it was. It was more like a targeted assassination tool on a cosmic scale.
A hit list.
A literal hit list, yeah. The names of Jishuo's 6 biggest enemies were written right on it. The Grand Master performed the right ritual, the banner would instantly kill all 6 of them at once.
And just look at who was on that list. You've got the leaders of the Chan teaching, Lao Zi and Yuanxi Tianzhen.
Yep.
Then the 2 leaders of the Western teaching, Jian Daoren and Zunti Daoren.
The whole enemy command structure.
Plus the mortal leaders of the war, King Wu Jifa and his strategist Jiang Zia. If that banner is used, the war is just over. Jiejiao wins. Period.
The fate of everything is in the hands of this one attendant, and he doesn't use it.
He doesn't use it. He takes the banner.
Uh-huh.
The one thing that can save his master and his entire faction. And he walks it right over to the enemy. He defects to the Chan teaching.
I mean, it is just the most stunning act of betrayal. He hands over the keys to the kingdom.
And the source material is so blunt about why he did it. It says he acted, and I'm quoting here, to avoid with Jiejiao together walking towards failure.
Self-preservation. Pure and simple.
He saw the ship was sinking, and he didn't just grab a lifeboat. He stole the engine and gave it to the pirates who were attacking the ship.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
By taking that banner, he completely disarmed his master. The Grandmaster had no final move left. The entire collapse of Jiejiao can be traced right back to that single moment.
You know, this brings up a really fascinating question for you listening. We see it as this cynical, awful betrayal. But in a brutal cosmic war, is survival the only thing that matters?
I mean, from his perspective.
Right. If your side is doomed, is securing your own immortality, even by betraying everything you stood for, actually the most rational move?
It definitely shifts the conflict away from pure morality and into mythological pragmatism. He wasn't thinking about loyalty. He was thinking about the New World Order, and he wanted a place in it.
He delivered the ultimate weapon to the winners. But, and this is where it gets even weirder, he doesn't really stick with them.
No, he doesn't. You'd think he'd settle in with the Chan teaching, enjoy the spoils of victory. But that's not what happens.
Which brings us to the second shift. After helping the Chan teaching win, he makes another jump.
Correct. He switches his allegiance one last time, leaving the Chan teaching and joining the third major faction, the Western teaching.
And the reason for this move is so different from the first one. The first betrayal was pure, cold, calculated fear. This one, it's framed very differently.
It's almost serene in a way. The leader of the Western teaching just declares that the long-eared immortal was predestined to join them.
Predestined. The word they use is you won, fated to be with them.
And that is the most brilliant narrative move in his entire story. He starts with an act of free will, right? A choice driven by fear. But his final home, his final allegiance, is framed as inevitable, as fate.
So his history of, catastrophic betrayal just gets washed away.
It's sanitized. It's no longer the traitor who doomed his master. It's the immortal who is always fated to find his true home with us.
And if we look at the bigger picture, the Western teaching is often seen as like a precursor to Buddhism's integration into the Chinese pantheon.
Exactly. So think about his journey. He starts in a sort of Taoist-aligned egalitarian faction.
Commits the ultimate betrayal against it.
Then briefly joins the elite, exclusive Taoist faction.
And then finds his final fated home in what becomes this proto-Buddhist faction. That's a huge philosophical journey for one character.
His defection guaranteed his survival, yes. But joining the Western teaching and having it framed as destiny, that guaranteed his legacy. He went from a terrified survivor to an honored disciple whose path was written in the stars all along.
It's the ultimate cosmic rebranding.
It really is. His story connects the three major powers. It starts with personal loyalty, moves to calculated survival, and ends with spiritual destiny. It basically tells the reader that, yes, the Grand Master of Heaven trusted him, but fate was always pulling him toward his true home in the West.
What a trajectory. A rabbit spirit starts in the inner circle, becomes the direct cause of his master's defeat by handing over the cosmic kill switch, and then lands in a third, thriving faction where he's told it was all part of the plan. Not bad for a bunny.
Not bad at all.
So we've traced his path from loyalty to fear to this divine mandate.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with this huge challenge. We see the long-eared immortal commit this unforgivable act of treachery. I mean, against the one person who trusted him completely.
Yeah.
And yet the narrative itself seems to validate him by saying, oh, it was just destiny.
So that's the real question, isn't it? In a world like Shangxinyanyi, where fate is pulling all the strings, was he truly this cynical opportunist making a choice out of fear?
Or was the fear just the tool that destiny used? The mechanism to make sure the interception teaching fell and to guide him to where he was supposed to be all along.
How does that idea of fate change how we judge someone for an act of betrayal? It was all written in the stars. How much blame can you really place on the long-eared immortal himself?
It's that classic question of agency versus destiny, and it's right at the heart of this whole epic.
Something to think about as you consider the career of the mythological world's greatest turncoat. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.